Hey everybody, what is happening? Dela, I am back with some more Madden 16 Ultimate Team content, and today we're going to talk about the defense. So first we should get into the setups. We are running a 3-4 defense. I'm running the 49ers playbook. I've ran the Ravens before. That one will work for certain things also, but I decided just to mix it up this year. So obviously on the defensive line, you're going to be looking for your big block shedding guys, your strength guys, and your power moves are the three bigger things that stand out right off the bat that I'm looking for. If you can get any speed over the next guys and acceleration, that's great for when you do block shed and you're chasing quarterbacks. And play rec is always nice to have a bonus in there, especially screens and stuff like that. That's good at sniffing out, and sometimes some of the trap runs and stuff. Not as big this year, but that's kind of what I'm looking at there. For the J.J. Watt there, you really can use the Muhammad Wilkerson Team of the Week. I really do recommend that. That's a great one also. He's got like 97 blocks gen. He plays beastly. J.J. is just a little bit faster is all. Gilbert Brown, I got him for like 28K, so he was a no-brainer to keep in the middle there. He's one of them big old guys who can stuff it up, take on two blockers, and have good those same moves I said there. And Zadarius Smith, no-brainer, obviously for the price he came out at to be at 93, and he has great stats out there again. So on the outside, on the corners, what we're going to be looking for is I want to have some big guys out there. Obviously, you want to handle some jump balls if you need, but really I want guys who can block shit, get off the blocks. When people are running these tosses, these sweeps, these traps, wide traps, all the stuff like that, you need to have a guy on the outside who can get off his block. Very, very big to me. So after that, when I look at this, then it comes down to what styles I want to run. And as you see, as I go through these guys, they've all pretty much, all my main guys here, have a real good high base zone. So most is 98, 98, 98, 97, 99. So they've got zones already covered. So I can play my man style, which supposedly will give you 5, on with, of course, you can get play rec in there, and you're going to get yourself press also, which is a big one. Some of those effects in there are really, really good to have. So you add that on, and then all of a sudden these guys who have in the low 90 press turn out to be a pretty high press, and I get the play rec up, which is really nice. And again, I get the mans maxed out, if that stuff holds out. So that's really what I want to look for out there. And again, agility is also really big in cornerbacks, and if you can get it in any position you're going out there who's going to be intercepting passes, that's really big out there. That's what why Pat Pete, DRC, those guys get crazy animations along with their spec catch. You've got to have that to be able to get the turnaround and the good fluid movement to make the crazy interceptions. So up on top, we did pick up the new Shazier. I will use him on occasion, but I'm going to let this guy do his own thing also for a majority of the time. A lot of people are not realizing that. I mean, his play rec was only 86, but I think with the +5 we'll put him at 91. With the speed and all that stuff, to me this is a no-brainer. He's got the same man coverage as Eric Kendricks does, but a lot more speed, like 4 more speed. So on the right side linebacker, we're going to look for somebody who can blitz really well. And then on the left side, I want somebody who's more of a coverage guy. Again, I'll be running man quite a bit, but I also zones, on occasion to mix it in. But that's where you want this guy to be more set in that department. Right? And same with safety, same old thing. We want the guys with the high hit power. We want the guys that good zone coverage. If you can get the play rec, obviously, Adeon's been solid. He could be bumped up in that department, but for the price, he is great out there at the strong safety. And Sean Taylor, of course, we know he's beast. On my users, you want a third safety. So I'm using the free safety Calvin as my third because you will user him in one of these formations I'll show you. And then Taylor Mays will be the other user when we're not using Shazier. We have Taylor Mays out there. So with that said, now let's go look at the settings real quick. So we have backed out. We are in the customized section after you've backed out because some of this actually will affect your game in head-to-head even. So we go back in. We're going to go to the settings department and we're going to go into the game options. Now we've got, let's see, you should have Cardinals as your favorite team. We are going to be running the Oakland, San Francisco. You know this. Even teams off. This is one of those things, if you've heard of the equalizer before, we don't know if this actually is effect in head-to-head, but this shows you that the coding is in the game to have an equalizer. Whether or not this is turned on in head-to-head, I don't know, but this does show you that it does exist in the game. Play call enhanced the standard. The camera toggle off. That's a big one. You see me early in the year. I was doing that. You get that when you flip all the way behind the camera angles. Normally, which is an accident, then you get stuck there. Just turn that off. That'll avoid that. So then you only have the standard camera angles you like. Skill level, don't go below All Pro. You should always be at least at All Pro, if not All Madden. But All Pro is where the head-to-head is played at. So I leave it there because that's what you're going to see aside from usering in head-to-head. Coach's tips, I don't really need those. Ball hawk, I will leave on. I haven't really noticed any negative effects from it. I've heard that even when you're not the guy who's going for the ball, holding the Y down or the triangle down when the ball hawk is on might even help your computer players. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that. These three I will use. Computer assist stuff, auto strafe, heat seeker assistance, switch assistance. I want all that stuff off. That I really want to control my own guys. I don't want to. If I make a mistake, I'll make a mistake. Not a big deal. I can live with that. But I don't want it to be because the computer was doing something that I didn't want it to when I was trying to chase somebody or make a pick or whatever. So, you know, your own choice. If you want the ball first, you want to be savage, trying to score first, whatever. That, you know how that works. Then no biggie. And then I leave the camera settings at standard there. All right, we've now made it to the practice field. Again, the Niners playbook. I am going to run base man as my normal coverage I'm going to start out with, and I'm going to show you a couple that I like to run. One being out of the nickel 245 prowl. And in this one, what you want to do is just hit the RB right here, and then this position is going to be the one you're using. So I will substitute in my Taylor Mays there. So I would just go in, you know, hit A and then find the guy you want and substitute him in. Say it's Daryl Washington, for example, this time. Whatever it is. So that play, that's where I'm going to put him in. And then we can go in and then call just the straight cover 2 man. Real basic. So with this one coming in right out you're going to want a man align, which is just going to be hitting the Y, and then you see down here RB. So there's your man align coming out. See what that looks like. I'm then going to press. So I'm just going to hit Y and go down. Now, sometimes I'll point out that this guy on the A is not always coming down. So sometimes you can re-man align if you really want him. And there you man align again, and this time he came down. It should have done that originally, but sometimes you have to hit it twice. Now, I will typically, to start off a game, I will typically shade outside. So when you want to look at your shades, I'm going to hit Y. And now, when I'm on here, you can see now hitting Y, I'm going to have on the right side is over top, inside, outside, underneath. So there's your shading that comes up. So typically, I shade outside, even though it doesn't always work the greatest, but that's where we're going to go just to start off. So it just depends on what they're running. But your job as a user here is to watch people cutting across the middle. So any inside coverage that you would have running outside, it's going to break them free, and it's going to, you know, they're going to be more open if they run these. But that's your area. That's you. Anything that crosses is yours. And I'll say this: when anybody runs, you have 2 routes. Sometimes you have 2 coming across. You want to stick on one a little bit, but then break off to the second. You know when you're beat, know when he's covered, but know when to go to the second, because that's really where you don't want to get beat over here. You get beat underneath than there, obviously. So what I'll do also, and the guy you're using is going to line up in here. So I'll take him and I'll just hit A, and then I'll put him on the left D-pad right there, and now we've put him in a zone. So I just start off in there. You can put him in a QB spy if you want also. That kind of works. Sometimes he'll jump up though. So I just like that. And a lot of times, depending on what it is, if I think it's a pass, I'm going to go to pass commit. A lot of times I will pass commit, which is just the L trigger, and then I see right there on the right stick, just hit up for pass. So that means if he runs a play action, I'm not going to be running after the running back or anything like that. So that said, so that's pretty much, you know, you can move this guy around wherever you want. If now, looking at a formation like this, when you've got the running back on one side, you always watch for those counter, the inside zones or those sweeps, anything coming off to the opposite side. So if you want, you can take your line and then set them up a little bit more to that side if you like. Normally, that'll help out because your gaps are going to be right up in here and right up in here that they're going to be looking for. But typically, you want to give yourself a little space so that way you don't get gobbled up by the linemen if they do want to run that. Give yourself a little bit of space to make the play. So let's see how this looks now with the outside coverage, the outside, shading. And you see down here, he's going to break there, and we're getting good coverage of the guys. But you're going to want the first guy you see jumping out there. You want to jump that, and make sure they stop that. That's where that's what they're going to see, and that's where they're going to throw it to. So let's run this again one more time with the inside. So we're going to take this again. We're just going to go out. We are going to man align. We're going to press. And we're going to give inside coverage. Press it again there. Make sure he gets on the line. Then we're going to give inside coverage. And I got my guy zoned out. And again, you can pull him anywhere you want. And again, if you've got the running back on the side, if you want, you can shift these guys over. That's not essential. But if you're getting beat by the run enough, you can do that, or really just take a different defense. So let's look at when we're shading inside. But we are pressing. So press on the inside. You can still get beat when they're turning these drags and stuff. So he's right there. So there's your first guy. And then You know, had the other guys got around, we were going to break to the other side. Surprisingly enough, as you're seeing, you get heat out of this. What happens here is you're running 3 guys, but when they're blocking the running back, something of that nature, or the running back stays back there, the 4th guy will come in also, and a lot of times he'll be the one making a play. So that's just something to keep an eye out. So that covers the basic of this. This is the base defensive man that I'll run. Now let's get to the other one. Okay, as you see here, now we're going to go and look at the quarters here formation. So in the quarters, what we're going to want to do, this is the quarters 1-3-7, and this is simply just the man 3 deep. Again, what we're going to do is hit the RB. We're going to move over to here, right here. This is where you want to put your user Calvin Johnson, your free safety Calvin Johnson, whatever safety you would like to use here. That's where this guy should live at. So I would plug him in there, and let's say it's Tyran here, whatever. So that's going to be your substitution there. You're going to end up with linebackers on the front and a D tackle in the middle. So if you feel the need to put in a different D tackle in there in the middle, maybe your Gilbert Brown, go right ahead, and this is going to be your left out. So this would be like Derek Brooks. So if you want here, you can also put in your strictly pass rushing specialist for left outside linebacker. So again here, now this one a little bit simpler on the on what we're going to do. We're simply going to come out and we're going to base the line here. I'm going to hit the Y. I'm going to do on the D-pad. You can do this, or on the left stick. We're just going to base the line. And you can see right there, base aligning. But then we're going to come back out and we're going to show blitz. So come back out here and we're going to hit Y, and then we're going to go left either on the D-pad or on the left stick. And you see how that comes in. Now typically, this guy will line up over here, and he'll fall back when you're running the play if you're not really controlling him or anything like that. But the same concept. Now this one, I'm not pressing because as you see, we've got guys at different angles, which makes this play kind of to make it kind of tricky when guys are running things. They don't always recognize what the coverage is because you got guys flying across like it's a zone or something, perhaps. So typically, I'm not shading off the bat on this either until the guy shows me where he's trying to run. But surprisingly enough, this one actually does pretty well on C routes, I've found, and certain outside stuff that you wouldn't think because man coverage normally doesn't. So again, when we're running these mans also, it's not going to stop everything. So the guys who know what they're doing, they will try to run the outs. They're going to try and run those Cs. They're going to try and run those post patterns and stuff like that. So that's what you want to keep an eye for. But let's run this until they show you that they can beat your man coverage. So let's take a look at what this. I'm gonna block the running back here because we're getting too much heat before because this is practice mode. So let's just let's see how this one runs out. So again, your coverage responsibilities, guys, is here. This is where you live, but you can freelance a little bit because the 2 deep safeties, they cover a lot, like in cover 2. This is like cover 2 man, same sort of concept. So you do have some freedom, but remember, this is really where you don't want to get beat though. Right up in there, you got to watch that, and sometimes behind. So keep an eye on that when they're running the routes, what you're covering. But other than that, I jump at anything crossed in the middle that looks open, and then, like I say, make sure stick on a route, then break to the next one when you see the secondary routes. That's really big in usering. So come out here, I've got this guy here, and then I will normally try to boom like that. See how I just cut across, and you'll get the jump animation if he throws that ball. I got Tyran, he's short, but when you come across, follow that guy on the left, and then bounce that one back in a route like that. Bounce that back to the open guy, because that's really what the passer's going to do, and that's really how you can bait those interceptions. And here's an example of me doing just that in this formation. We're running across, we go for the bottom, come to the top. I couldn't have made the bottom one, so I break off to the top one anyway, and that's exactly how that works out. And one-on-one stuff, guys, I like to break up the pass and not go for interceptions. Just throw that out there. Okay, now let's get into some of the other coverage stuff that you'll be looking into playing here. Some of this will apply regardless of the formation. So we'll go into the 3-4 under. First, we'll talk about the cover 3 sky or any of the cover 3s. They're really bad this year. They really, because, you know, with the amount of 4 verticals and stuff that you're going to see out there, this does not cover it very well. One-on-one coverage on the outside is going to get you smoked most of the time. So good players are really going to beat up your cover 3. So be cautious of that and try to make sure that you're going to play when you're covering calling this is going to be against somebody who you really think is going to live underneath or in midfield, or that you're not really worried about them throwing it super deep on you. What I like to do, and you can use either side, I like to use the right side more than the left on this formation. So I'll actually call say if it looks like this, I'm going to flip it, because see out there the light blue on the cover 3, I want that guy. That's my guy. So what I'll do on a formation like this, though, so we'll come out, and normally I'm baseline and everything to get them where they should be. Now, here's what I'll do is, again, I'll take my linebacker out here, which is normally Derek Brooks, and I'm going to put him, on a flat zone. Sometimes you can rush him, but this is what I like to do on occasion here. So I'm only bringing 3 at this point, but what this will allow you to do is take your safety out here, take him, and then again, I'm going to user him. That is now my guy. So when you're looking at this and you're running this, well, where's the initial hole going to be? Because you've got your deep safety over here lining up on this side of the field. He's got to come back to the middle. And look at the formation. These guys are here. So I'm really focused mainly on anybody coming across this area to start the playoff. That's your guy. You've got your coverage out there. And again, you can do anything along the lines of putting these guys in a QB contain or any weird thing like that if you want. No, that's up to you. But that said, this is how I will run this one. So we've got these coverages up in there, and then we get the heat. Because you don't have deep coverage responsibility also, once that play breaks over, if you want to follow the guy over here, you can. Just make sure you hang out long enough to allow your safeties and your corners to, crowd that space so where they can crash in if they do throw that. So you don't have to run the guy out here in the flat, but I like to do that because, again, if you're new to usering, this will free you up without a big responsibility. You know your area, but you still have some freelancing room because of that. So you want to kind of always, look, you want a straight line. You've got the quarterback coming here, and really you don't want to stay, foot for foot, step for step with the guys. You don't really need to do that. You just need to cut the angle of the passing angle of the quarterback to the receiver. So really, when you're hovering here, you're killing a bunch of the options for the quarterback. So that's, to me, that's kind of what you want to keep in mind. When I first started the game out, I used to try and run with everybody. That's not what you're trying to do here. You're actually wanting to cut off the angle more than anything. So again, I see here I've got the inside coverage. Now he's going to have that RB and all that, so that's where you want to decide. If he's beating you a lot on that, you can shade over the top for your other linebacker, so that way maybe they're going to cover better there for this. So let's see what that looks like. Take him out there. We're going to flat zone him. Get on our guy. Now we're going to come up. We hit the Y and we hit over the top on the right. So let's see how they then react to this. So you see right there, you got a lot more coverage out there than because of that on anybody running that. So I don't recommend the cover 3 a lot, but if that's what you're gonna run, that's one way to go about that. Okay, so where I don't recommend the cover 3, and if you're not feeling good about running the man coverage in certain situations, he's beating you on that. You're really better off running the cover 4, like a cover 4 drop. Any of those, if you can get 2 guys out there, so you can either choose to rush 4 run 1 yellow, or rush 3 and have 2 yellows. If it's going to be 3rd and 15. You think he's going to be running big, you probably want to get this one in here is the way to go. And then what I'm going to do user and wise, you have 2 options in here. I prefer probably to stick around in here, user this guy. You're more than looking for deeper passes, so anything underneath is not a huge deal. And if you really want also, you can take your guys out in here, user a guy like this. If it's really deep and you have a long ways to go, you can also take your light blues and switch them to purples, which is just go to the guy. I just hit A, and then on the left one, curl to flat, and the next thing you know, that's just it. Very simple. So come to him, hit A on the D-pad, and then I just hit A, and then hit right on the D-pad, and that'll do the same thing for him. So that's another way you can run that one. So you're going to give up a flat, you're going to give up anything underneath, but if you're running something where coverage is they have a long way to go, you can live with that, not a big deal. And just see what this one ends up looking like. So come over here, running right to that middle. Once you see that middle breaking in, again, I hover for the bottom guy, then I want to run to that guy in the middle. That's where your responsibilities should be in that. You see in here, you're going to have this one, and then boom, break off to the next guy and the next one. Kind of just what we're trying to do there. All right, so another one also that I find to be pretty decent that people probably overlook a lot is going to be your cover two zone. It is beatable. Like all these are all beatable, so I mean it's all situational. I understand that. You can go and nitpick anything going on here, but these are just showing you the options of what to do with it. It's up to you to call things in the right situation. That's not something that can be helped. But run the cover two stuff out here. We'll run this one out of the nickel 245 double A gap. So you see what we're running in here. So if I'm going to run this though, that you have, you can do whatever you want. You can, again, we can always rush 4. We can try and rush 3. I like to leave these in the 4, try and get a little bit more heat. I don't always want to rush 3, but I'm just showing you the options. And there's gonna be times where we rush more on certain plays too. But for the basic what we're covering, that's what we're gonna say today. So on this one, your biggest thing though is if you're gonna run this, you have got to almost be more of the deeper coverage here. This is really the weakness, heavy weakness in here of this. Because if they run anything where they're going to run streaks on the outside, it's going to pull these guys apart and you're going to have a huge gap in here. So you have the option, again, you can either let this guy live where he is, or you can even take something like this, possibly, if you want to be crazy, take him, put him in a deep to a hook. But if you do something like that, what you want to go is hit the double base align. Double base aligning will actually straighten everything out a little bit better, get your separations better typically. So to do that, you're going to hit Y and then base align to on the left. So I hit the D-pad right, Y, D-pad right again. So now you can see some plays better than others. This one looks exactly the same. So that's about as good as it's going to get. So you can do one right there to switch this up. So basically, for everyone that I see, that'll be the difference. So there's the coverage on that, all that you can see. Break it down, break it down, break it down. Biggest thing, guys, is when guys are, when they run plays on you, look at the formation, try to remember the formation they're in and where they're attacking with that formation. Typically, guys only run a handful of plays from a formation. So if you can just make a note after play, mental note of what they're doing, that's when you learn where your adjustments are. So if you're saying, hey, I can run this and I think this guy's going to run, this post route out here, I'll take this guy on that side and maybe you take him and put him in a purple, perhaps, could be anything like that. Maybe you want to take Peterson and man him up then in that case, because that now I've got a freebie. I'm worried about Crabtree for some reason. That's probably not been said very, very often, but if that's what you want to do, then you can run this. So the mixing and matching with things, you just know, as long as you're not leaving yourself a big gap, and you're not going to be hurting yourself by doing that. You're not going out there and taking this guy out here and put him on a blitz, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've got no deep coverage out there. So just keep in mind when you are taking guys, try to make sure it's guys that don't really have any responsibilities, that are really going to kill you if they do this. Now let's look at trying to find some heat out of this that's not a nano. Let's see if we can get a 8 gap. I will run the nickel overload 3. I will typically flip this one if I run that one. I like to hit it from the right side. So you see, we come out here as your standard formation. I like to baseline everything just to be safe. That one didn't change it too much. I'm going to shift my D-line left, which is just going to be the LB and the left on the stick. And then I'm going to shift my linebackers left, which is hitting the RB and then left on that stick or D-pad. So there's the look you're going to get from there. Then I'm just taking this the guy I'm going to use here on this play right here. This is my guy, but I want to start him right over here, right off of this guy normally. I like to pass commit on most of these, on this situation. On most of them I will, like I say, unless you're really counting the run. And on this one, when they're hiking the ball, I will hold the LT down right the whole time. This is your strafe, but I'm going to hold him off the bat. This is not a guaranteed one, but it's going to get decent heat. But again, you're going to have a cover 3 shell on it, so you're going to have to watch. You're going to have to be careful in there. As you can see, that's a legitimate blitz, though, guys. That's not running something that's not nano. And you're bringing heat, you're bringing the numbers. That's how that works. So, and we'll block this one. We're going to base the line here. We're going to shift left, shift the linebackers left. Come on out here, and again, I'm just going to use her up in this hole. That's just where I want to live at there, and we'll run this one again. So come on out, and this time we get the heat coming through the middle. A lot of times you're going to get the heat coming off the cornerback, so your corner out here also you want to make sure is going to be a good blitzer. That's going to be your nickel back. Ooh, I said Nickelback, awful. So again, we're going to base a line here. We're going to, one more time, shift left. We're going to put the linebackers left, and we're going to live right out in here, right out in this gap. I want to hit in this gap a little bit off the line, and I'm pass committing and holding down LT. We'll block the running back here, so it's not too easy. If he doesn't block the running back and he's only blocking 5, this one kills it, as you saw in the first play. Again, so we've got this guy to cover, and then we've got that one. So, either way, I mean, they're not always going to run that same play, but just know that's your area to cover. Okay, guys, so there's a real basic breakdown of what we're looking at in here. I could probably try and lab up some more plays and show maybe some of the other defenses I do. I don't really want to get into nanos. I only know one offhand. I don't really want to show this stuff. You can search for any of those if you guys really want. And it isn't a bad idea to learn some, so that way you can go into practice mode and defend against that. Learn to slide, learn which guys you have to block, learn how to stop some of that. But if you run that, that's on you. You can find those anywhere you want. It's not a it's one of those things. It is frowned upon, but at the same time, if you look at all the popular people on YouTube, look like GS or Toke or any of those guys, Coop, any of those guys, they are all nano blitzing left and right. They are doing that pretty heavy. And I don't let Toke fool you just because he points out when other people do it first. I've seen plenty of times where he does it first, and that's whatever they want to do, and that's fine. I mean, I like those guys. Their content's good. I like to watch some of those guys, so not downing them for that. Just saying it's part of the game. I wish it was not part of the game. I think it would be totally different landscape. It was, and people you think are great players may not be as good, if they took that out of the game. This is just the fact of it. So, if you guys enjoyed this, I can work on maybe getting some more things out, maybe more specific plays in the future. I just wanted to give a basic breakdown. I know my defense is fairly simple for what we're doing here. But it's mainly about usering, guys. You need to get off the D-line, and you need to start usering, even if you suck at it, okay? You've got to do it, man. You've got to train yourself to be better. That's how you can become a better player. That's really the difference. Now, blitzing aside, the difference between good and bad players is usering. All right, see y'all next time.